he just grabs me. He goes, all right, don't F it up. We'll figure it out. How hard can it be, the real world? Yoshi beats him. He's butt naked. He reaches out, he catches it, he almost scores. The place goes bananas.
All right, welcome to the Athletes in Sports podcast. We are live here at the Minnesota Golf Show. I'm Max Smith, the founder of the In Sports Foundation. I've got my lovely co-host here and wife, Bridget Smith, also helped us found the In Sports Foundation. Today we have a very special guest, former NFL player, quarterback. He's got 5 kids. He's got a lot of coaching experience. He loves to spend some time on the golf course, which is relevant for the golf show. We have Brooks Bollinger. Brooks, thanks for being on today.
Whoop.
So last year we had Michael Floyd on. John Randall's also the face of this golf show. What is it with these retired NFL athletes getting into the golf world?
Well, first of all, I don't think you should put me in the category with those two. But I think it's something that brings us together, and as a football player, it's great to see so many former guys. Of course, the quarterbacks and kickers could play a little bit more while we were playing.
Right.
We could kind of keep up with the hockey guys a little bit more. But it's been great through the years of retirement of being able to bond over the golf course with a bunch of former guys.
Well, I think we met on the golf course. We had a mutual friend. I think you got 9 holes in because you had to go to some soccer tournament. I mean, you've got 5 kids. What's that like right now, just being in the youth sports world as a parent?
Well, like I tell my wife, it's fun, except when it isn't. No, but we have a blast, and I'm getting to this stage of life where I worry a little bit more what's it going to look like on the other side, when we don't have that, because it's so much of the fabric of our family and how we spend time together. And I always say my favorite part is the drive to and from the game. Being with the kids, and when they're out on the court or the field or the ice, that's their time, and trying to support them. But once they get their license, it starts to diminish a little bit because,
right.
They're driving on their own.
Yeah,
Now,
that quality time, I feel like, in the car, even with our 8-year-old right now, it's like he's just so curious, and you can just have your distractions. Maybe there's music playing, but you can actually sit and have a conversation, which is nice.
Until they hit about 14, especially those girls, it's a little harder to pull anything out of them.
Now, if one of your kids has a bad game and you're in the car with them after, do you bite your tongue on saying anything, or do you have that conversation right then and there, or kind of what's your philosophy on feedback after a game?
I think it depends is the best answer. I think trying to feel the kid and the personality. I mean, my dad was great. I could tell you after every game, and he was a coach, right? And he'd shake my hand, whether it was with the Minnesota Vikings, New York Jets, Badgers, high school, he'd shake my hand, he'd say, played a hell of a game, good job, and then time would pass and you start kind of talking and whatever. But I try and ask questions and obviously be supportive on the front end of, hey, I love watching you play. I think is a great kind of line to start with of that was fun and I'm proud of you. And then from there, I mean, just kind of letting them drive, how'd you feel in this moment? How'd you react to this thing that happened? What are you feeling? What are you thinking about? I think it's good to have those conversations because there's so many learnings in sports, right? There's so many moments that are life-shaping, whether it's success, failure, conflict. Some we're proud of, some we're not. But if you avoid them and you don't talk about them, or you try and overly preach and you don't listen, I think you miss the teaching moments within those times. So I try and have balance, and like anybody, it's a work in progress, and you're always kind of learning how to do it. But I think it's been a great way for us to build relationships with our kids.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back. You were a multi-sport athlete. Football, basketball, baseball. I might be missing a few in there, but what?
Golf, right?
Golf, yeah. But what, and growing up in Grand Forks, what kind of got you into all these sports? Was it your parents? I mean, your dad was a coach. Was it friends? Was there a sport that you liked right away more than the others, or were you kind of just always playing all the sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, my dad was the offensive coordinator at the University of North Dakota. I always say growing up, like, we didn't have a ton of money, but we had the keys to the gym, and it's kind of like, what else do you need? But I grew up with football in my hand from day one, and I was so lucky because I got to be around my heroes, right? My heroes, I didn't really have an NFL team,
Wasn't the Vikings for you?
It wasn't. It wasn't. Oddly enough. But my dad's players were my guys, and I got to kind of be around them all the time. I'd be 10 years old, throwing drills to the running backs in practice, and Roger Thomas was the head coach at UND, and thankfully, he let me go on bus trips. He let me be around the practice facility. I had a kind of a locker in the equipment room. The equipment guys were my guys. I'd go in on Friday nights, and we'd set up the locker room and order a pizza. And so, for me, it was just like I got to see the magic of that side of it.
Because how old were you at that point?
I mean, my whole life. But really those kind of heydays before I got busy was probably like 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
Right in there. And I'd have an air pump on the sidelines for the helmets and walking up and down the deal.
Like water boy?
Yeah.
Like during the games?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my. That's awesome.
I mean, I don't know the exact. That was probably, 11, 12, 13 right in there when they
trust you with a pump.
Yeah. But you learn how to operate in the locker room, right? You learn when to be quiet. The first time you're 11, 10 years old, and you learn pretty quick, like, hey, this is quiet time. All right, like, Brooks, you're not a part of this conversation. These guys are getting ready for a game, and you're in the locker room when they're crying after they lost to North Dakota State or a huge win. And so for me, and I think it was kind of I call it the Norman Rockwell time of college athletics too. There wasn't a lot of money in it. None of the coaches were making a lot of money. My dad had a staff that mostly stuck together for about 20 years. So there's a bunch of good guys that were huge role models for me, and I just got to be around it. So I think that's just what we did. I was really lucky in Grand Forks. Sports were important to the community. And there were so many good teachers and coaches that sacrificed their time to coach the rec team or the after school program or whatever. And then that region at the time, like, we just had a bunch of good athletes. So it was competitive. So yeah, we did it all, man. Did a little track, threw that in there, and it's just what we did.
What made you obviously you were immersed in football right from day one. What got you into the other sports?
Well, actually, I didn't play football till 7th grade, like, play it.
Could you do flag, or was that
they didn't have it back then. I don't know if it was invented. So, basketball is probably my favorite sport. And,
over football?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, and then baseball was huge. And like I said, we always had good teams. And I would have always told you, like, I assumed I'd play college quarterback. Like, it wasn't really a question. I just was like, yeah, I'm going to play quarterback in college. What else would I do? But there's various stages of my life where basketball or baseball was my favorite sport. And Rich Glass, who we talked about earlier, was the coach at UND, and I got the nice discount because my dad worked for the university, so I'd go to like 3 camps a summer. It's just kind of like the kid hanging around, and those guys had a great program at the time. I'd go to every men's and women's game at UND, and so yeah, I think it was, if anything, it was probably out of balance the other direction where it's like, hey, what else are you doing, outside of sports? But it was kind of my whole world.
And was that kind of all the kids in Grand Forks? Were they like most kids into sports, or were because it's a smaller town, but you've got University of UND right there, and it's like what else is going on up there at when you're growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think to varying degrees. Obviously, I didn't play hockey, which is a tough draw up there. A little more difficult to get a date to the prom. When you don't play hockey in Grand Forks.
Did you get a date to the prom?
I did. I eventually.
You were just lower on the totem.
Yeah, it was just a little harder.
To work hard for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was, I think all those kids growing up, it wasn't as serious as it is now. It wasn't as involved for a lot of them, but, we'd ride our bikes and play tennis, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it was a sports-rich environment from that standpoint.
So take us through. So obviously you were going to be a quarterback in college, right? Like that's just what you had. How did that recruiting process look for you to go to Wisconsin?
Yeah, that's interesting. I played varsity basketball and football as a freshman,
Is that a common or not common?
I would
At
say
that
it's
time?
uncommon, especially for football.
Yeah.
And I probably wasn't physically ready, but I don't think they had anybody else at the time. So I got pulled up, and we were still in junior high back then, so I wasn't even I was at Valley Junior High and had to get a coach to drive me over every day.
Sounds like your hockey
Yeah,
experience, Max. Yeah.
So I remember after my freshman year, I got, probably just because I was playing young, my coach called me in and he handed me a letter as a red envelope with a big N on the front, it was from Nebraska. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting recruited by Nebraska. And he goes, don't worry, you're not getting recruited. Okay. And then I found out after that it's one of 50,000 letters that, get thrown in the mail. But I just vividly remember just being like, holy cow. Like, I never thought of anywhere but University of North Dakota.
Did that excite you? Did it make you what were you feeling in that?
It just wasn't as big of a deal back then. Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
And in Grand Forks, it was like, hey, play D1. That's a big deal. Like, everybody talked D1. And not many people played D1 football. There was some Montana and Wyoming and stuff, but most people went to UND or NDSU. And that's just kind of how it was. So it was talked about, but it wasn't. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I think we were more focused on winning the state championship and playing the next season and just figured it would work itself out as time went on. So I actually came down to the Gophers camp after my sophomore year. I was MVP of the quarterbacks or whatever.
For the conference or?
For the camp.
Oh, okay.
For the Gophers camp.
Yeah.
And then they started recruiting me. And that was Jim Wacker. That was before Mason got here. So they started kind of recruiting me, and that was a big deal.
That was your sophomore year?
Yeah. Okay. After the summer, I guess, going into my junior year. Had a big junior year and then hit a bunch of camps. A few camps outside Iowa. And then got a call from Wisconsin, said, hey, we found your tape, and we'd like you to come to camp. So I'm like, okay, we got to fit this in. Like, it's a big deal. So we had a Legion baseball tournament in Bismarck. We ended up going to the championship. Took the bus back. They met my mom in Fargo. My mom, so it's like, whatever, 9 o'clock at night. God bless my mom, like, driving at night anywhere outside of, Grand Forks was not, like, her comfort zone. And I remember I didn't even shower or anything. I still had my baseball stuff on. I'm sleeping in the car. We drive through the night in a torrential downpour.
Oh my gosh! Bless your mother.
Yeah, I know, right? I told her that's what it was. Get to Madison at like 6 a.m. Take a shower, go down, meet those guys. Went to camp for a day. They offered me. Drove home. I was like, we didn't know. Like, it wasn't a process. It was like, I didn't know anything about Wisconsin.
Were they even on your radar or not even?
Nobody's on my radar. I mean, I just thought I'd play at North Dakota.
Yeah.
Because your dad was still coaching there.
He's done. He had gotten out of it, so he was running the foundation.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I got offered. It's kind of like, yeah, what do you think? We didn't know. I don't think we did any research on, what is the academic profile of the school? Like, I didn't know they didn't throw the ball. I had no idea. I love Coach Alvarez. I love the town. And like 2 weeks later, I committed and just was like,
And that was your junior year?
Yep,
okay.
I was going into my senior year. So just kind of looking back, like the planets just kind of all aligned, and that was only the first set, Then it has to work out when you get there. But yeah, that's how it happened, and UND tried to keep me and talked me out of going to the Big Ten, and I just felt like it was a chance I had to take.
And how did that feel when you got there? Was it intimidating? Was it welcoming? Did you have to really fight for your spot?
Yeah, it was intimidating. Guys from all over the country, and it's a big deal. Probably for everybody, but being where you're from and you're just in those facilities and in that stadium But I don't know. I just kind of was like, just kind of competed every day, and it was like heaven for me. Like, I'm playing in the Big Ten, and we get all this gear, and we got all these resources, and so I just soaked it all up. I just loved every day. As a quarterback, like, practice is fun. It's not like you're beating your head against the walls. I always loved football practice. Loved just getting better. So I didn't really think about it much, and I knew I was going to redshirt. So there wasn't like this. Back then, most people did, right?
And not a lot of pressure, right? Right when you get there, kind of get your feet wet a little bit.
And I had grown up. That was where it helped to grow up around it because I saw what a redshirt year did for guys. So a lot of guys are frustrated and you want to play. And I was just like, no, it's part of the process. Kind of get your footing on your social life and your academics and yeah. So none of that bothered me. And then my second year, so then that spring really started getting thrown into competition. That's when everything heated up.
And when did you find your spot as the starting quarterback for Madison?
Yeah, so like that spring I was competing with a senior, and
for the starting position,
for the starting quarterback job, and had a good spring, and we were kind of neck and neck going into training camp, and I remember the first game, Miami of Ohio. It was like one of those non-conference kind of preseason games. I always give my quarterback coach a hard time, Jeff Horton. He's a good friend to this day, but I could tell he was nervous. And it's like the fourth series of the game, and they're going to throw me in. And he just grabs me. He goes, all right, don't F it up. Best advice I ever got. It was brilliant. So I went in and I did. I pitched off the wrong guy in an option and turned it over. But I got a couple series, and it felt big. It felt fast. And I kind of started to feel like, we went down to Cincinnati like the next week. I think we were top 10 in the country. And Cincinnati's unranked. There, nobody at the time. I played one series. I was 0 for 1 with an interception. And we lost. Ron Dane was called the biggest bust, and he was a Heisman candidate at the time. They called Dane a bust. We were done. Everything kind of was like, and I'm sitting there thinking like, all right, maybe next year, right? Like just not ready. And the next week we play Michigan at home, 2:30 ABC game, and Scott Kavanaugh gets hurt in the third quarter, and I'm going, oh boy, here we go. It's a close game. And I'm kind of like, hey, I was getting a little comfortable thinking next year. Like next year felt right at the time. So I go in against Michigan, and it was probably the best thing for me because you just get thrown in, you don't have time to think about it. And played really well. We almost came back and beat them. We ended up losing in a tight game at the end. And Coach came down that next morning. He's like, hey, you're making your first start this week. And it was at Ohio State.
Wow.
In a 2:30 ABC game. And, that was, now you're sitting thinking about it, like, all right, like this is real. And really that game, we're down 17-0. And I was just like holding on to it, right? Just trying not to screw up. And we're down 17-0. We go into 2 minutes at the end of the half. All of a sudden make a couple completions, make a few plays. We kick a field goal at 17-3. And we're running off the field, and John Favre grabs me and he says, if you play like that, we're going to win this game. He was one of our captain defensive players. And I just remember feeling like, let's go, And we scored 42 unanswered and beat Ohio State 42-17. And just went on a tear. Won that game 7 or 8 more, including the Rose Bowl.
And you started all those games.
Yeah,
like you were the other quarterback was out for the season.
He was, once he was not hurt for the season, but once we beat Ohio State like that, and then the next game was here at Minnesota, beat Minnesota. I can't remember the whole stretch from there. It was just we were on a heater, just caught fire, and we had to beat. Then Ron Dane was our running back, and he was going off, and we had a big game with Purdue. That was with Drew Brees and them down the stretch, and then we had to beat Iowa to go to the Rose Bowl, win the Big Ten, and that was a game that Ron Dane broke the all-time rushing record, and. I played well, and we won that game, and it was so that whole thing was just like it's like being lifted out of your body and watching somebody else go,
right?
Because it's just all of a sudden I I don't think I'm probably ready, and it's going to be later on, and all of a sudden it's like you win 9 straight and you're getting ready to go to Pasadena, and pretty soon you're sitting in a production meeting with Keith Jackson and Dan Fouts, and you're on the Jay Leno show, and you're the guy. All of a sudden the world looks at you different, and that's a trip. That's a very interesting thing when it goes that fast. And I think it took me, well, and then beyond that, I think I won my first 15 games as a starter into my sophomore year. And there's so many learnings in that early success that you just don't realize at the time of how much my life changed in like that.
What would you say some of those, like reflecting back now, like what are some of those learnings?
Well, I think the biggest thing, it's not healthy, right, for your development. I think this happens, and really I think this is one of the things that's going on in sports right now is like sports has become a bigger and bigger deal for kids younger and younger. Right. It's become more of their identity, social media, the recruitment, the clubs, the stuff. And if you get to that place too soon and before you understand it, it starts to define you. Right. And you kind of let the outside world define you. So, what happened to me was went from here to here, and then you're just holding on to it. You're trying not to make your growth and development kind of stops because all of your energy is really going into just maintaining what you've established.
Right. And the expectation of how you got there and doing it again and again, right?
Just keep it going. And especially you're playing quarterback at Wisconsin, it's like good defense, good special teams, like, you know what I mean?
You could get a prom date at that point.
Yeah. That's why I met my wife before I was playing. She was a Badger too.
But then you think about in today's college football with NIL. So you think about yourself in that situation. Now you add the whole NIL thing on top of it. Like, that can't be good for your growth and development. Or what's your take on that?
Well, I think, it's really in two ways. One is that some of the brand and the pressure. So, Graham Mertz was a kid that was at Wisconsin. He won a couple of his first games in a really, played well and was sexy and had the kind of the 4 stars and all this stuff. And he had like a logo, and he was like a brand around him already. And you're getting money, which, I'm not blaming him for, but, it's the same thing kind of happened in a very accelerated time frame where it was too much too soon. And I think that can happen to kids, and I can't imagine the pressure of being Arch Manning and you're getting X amount of $1 million and you're that age and you haven't even really played yet. So I think there's that pressure side of it. And then the flip side of it, which was good for me, was like, I had the opportunity to kind of like hit some low points, have to play my way through it, and develop and kind of learn. Well, they're just on to the next school.
Right.
So it like my team pulled me through. Like that W was important enough to me when I was down on myself or I was down on my future. It was like, hey, I got to do this for my guys. I got to do this for Coach Alvarez and the staff. And like, I believe in what we're doing. And I think that's the saddest part is like, that's such a cool part of it. And now it's just like, well, I don't know. I'm kind of, it's so transactional. It's for me. That they don't get that other side of it.
Or it's like you don't have to deal with the adversity of that, right? Like going through those highs and lows. It's like, okay, it's a cop out. I can go somewhere else, and that loyalty I feel like is lost.
It's lost, and it's hard to blame the kids for it.
Sure.
Right? Like we all want to pick whose fault it is. Kind of like youth sports. Like, is it the parents are crazy, or the coaches are crazy, or the refs suck, or like right, who's to blame? And the reality is, it's not that. But yeah, I think that having that ability to play through it, ride the ups and downs, and do it and be a part of something bigger than yourself is it doesn't exist the same way today. So we'll see what the impact of that is. But I think there's certainly a piece of this that, and I could say that for youth sports too. It's like, well, if that club didn't work out, or like they don't value my playing time, like I'm going to go to a different club, or I'm going to transfer high schools or whatever. So,
do you know someone who could benefit from this episode? If so, please take the time to share it with them.
Whether it's an athlete, a coach, a parent, or just someone who loves inspiring stories, we want to get this message out, and we need you to help make that happen.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, our 8-year-old, we're just getting into it, right? And he's playing hockey and Thursday night, and hockey, lacrosse, football, all the things, right? But anyway, he loses this hockey game. I mean, smoked. Like they got 4 shots on. I mean, it was pretty rough, right? And we're
like, are we in the same age group here? Like, what's going on?
What's going on, right? But as a parent, right? Like you don't want that sport to define them already, but he's so immersed in what he's doing, and we love his passion for it, right? But we get home that night and we're sitting on the couch. He's like, "Mom, why are you even giving me a hug? We got smoked." He's like, "We got smoked."
He's like, "Mom, I feel bad for you even coming today to watch."
Yeah.
He's 8 years old.
Right. And so you're just like, oh gosh, as a parent, how do you go through that? And I'm like, I love you no matter what, buddy. I mean, we just had Mike Welsh on, and he was talking a lot about that. Like, when you're driving home from a game, he's like, just wait to talk about it, right? And so me, as a very constructive, I didn't even play hockey, but being competitive, I would get in the car last season and be like, "Okay, buddy, well, how do you think you did?" I'm like, "He's 7. Okay, why am I being so intense about it?" But you do feel that pressure as a parent.
Well, you don't. It's not comfortable to see your kids fail.
Right.
And by the way, you asked me earlier, but like in my household, my wife is one of the most competitive people I know, and she was a really good athlete. And so, I'm the parent who's like, "Hey, buddy, I love you." Mom's the one who's a little bit more like, "If you play like defense like that again, you're not getting dinner." Like she's pretty.
No ice cream for you.
Yeah. She will lay it on the table. So it is that balance. But I think to your point is now I love being on this side of it, and I don't want my experience to impact their experience. Just like if I wouldn't have made it or whatever, like I wouldn't want that to push them harder.
Because we're not them, right?
Yeah. It's hard though, right? And you see their potential and you see the opportunity and the things you wish you would have done or known, and it's hard to fight against. But there's so much anxiety, in our peer group, my peer group of youth sports. Whether it's the time or the budget or them reaching their potential. I talk to people all the time of just like, it's a huge stressor. And I think what we talk a lot about, and again, we don't have the answers, but it's like, hey, we need to always try to step back and say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And if the answer isn't somewhere near to like, this is a tool to help them become the best versions of themselves, and then we're wrong, right? And it gets complicated, but you're constantly reshaping that lens of, okay, what are the learnings here? What is the development here? And I tell people, I probably overdid it with my kids. And when you're a quarterback, you deal with failure a lot, especially when you're a 6'1", accountant's body quarterback. but so it's like, hey, that failure, like that is the best learnings a lot of time.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite story I love to tell my kids' experience was the drive, chip, and putt. My oldest, he was 7 or 8 years old, and he went to the first round, at Highland National, and he won it, smoked everybody. And then we go to Blaine for like the regional deal, and kids got the flat brims and the Oakleys, and dad's carrying the bag, and it's like,
we just did this last year.
Did you?
Same thing.
Yes.
I'm like, oh buddy, this is a real deal. We're just kind of screwing around, you know what I mean? Like he always loved golf since he was tiny, and he just thought, he's like, do I get a green jacket when I go to Augusta? Like, I'm already there, man. Like, he asked me a great question. He said, Dad, so if you win the second green jacket, like, who puts it on you?
If you win 2 in a row. Yeah.
So I'm like, I love where your head's at. But we go out to Blaine, and, they got the big leaderboard deal with the markers and all that stuff that they're putting up. And he hit 3 pretty good putts, lipped one of them out. He hit 3 really good chips. He hit 2 out of 3 good drives. He snapped one out of bounds, right? So we come in, and there's all these kids are in, and he's in second place. Top 2 though. Last kid comes in again. He looks like he's 15. He has like 20 more points than anybody.
Yeah.
So he dropped to third. And it's like,
yep.
And I go, all right, go shake their hands. Tell them good job. And let's go. And we get in the car, and his little brother's there just, yapping and yerping, and he's kind of sniffing, and it's quiet. And 10 minutes later, I said, hey, buddy, you hit 8 out of 9 good shots. One good enough today. The dirt don't lie. That's always what I tell them in golf, right? You made it or you didn't. Hey, we'll get them next time. 5 minutes later, the music's up. They're messing around, talking about something else, and time goes on.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hey, that's going to happen to you, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad player. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It certainly doesn't mean you're not loved by your parents anymore. But it's like,
or you're not getting dinner today.
You're not getting dinner or a treat or whatever. It's just like, I think facing those moments head on and just saying, hey, like, that's what happened, and we got to deal with it, but you're going to be all right. What can you learn from it? How to make a plan going forward? If you want to do it, let's go. So I think that oftentimes we hide from the failure and the hard times when actually that's a ton of the good stuff.
Did you said obviously you went through some highs and lows in your college career, right? Like, you seem to have this just steady underlining confidence, like just calm beat to you. But how did you feel like you continued to gain that confidence when you did have adversity? And do you think you've always just naturally had that, or have you had to work for that?
I think I lacked confidence at times, for sure. I took it hard. It was probably the downside of being a coach's kid. Is like, I knew what was being said in that film room. I knew what the critics were saying. I remember, and then like when you win your first 15 games, and you're just like, well, I'm different. Like, they're always going to love me. And then Jim Sorgi, who ended up being a longtime backup for Peyton Manning, was my backup, and he came in when I got hurt one time. He played really well. Then all of a sudden they're booing me, and they're chanting for Sorgi to come in the game, right? And you're like, wait a minute, like, what happened here?
Guy just won 15 games in a row.
Yeah. Like, I'm different. I'm not like the last guy. But they're always going to want that second guy. There's always going to be the critics. I remember when we didn't, thank God, have camera phones or social media.
Right.
But that was like the early days of the message boards or like the chat or whatever. And then I think somebody found my email. I think it was an email. He sent my school email. And he said, "Dear Mr. Ball and Suck, can you please stop sucking so bad? My family wants to go back to the games. We cannot watch when you're playing." And
this is when you were at Matt.
I was like a junior, sophomore, and junior. And and listen, there was times, good or bad. You go out to dinner and you're with your family. It was probably harder on my family than it was, and there was way more good than bad. But my sister got into it one time. My dad got, into some interesting situations in the stadiums. The people will come up to you and they'll say crazy stuff. I mean, again, a ton of it's good, but they'll come up to you eating dinner and it's like, not positive. Or you're in the line at the bar or whatever that night with your family. And so, yeah, you have to learn how to kind of manage that. So I think now my confidence comes through my perspective of going through it. Because at the time, I don't think it hurt me when people said things. I probably too often agreed with them.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, that was terrible. But yeah, I mean, I think having lived it, and that's when I so much now want to equip my kids or kids I coach or whatever of like, hey, have the courage and the confidence, have the self-belief to be able to navigate this. And things are going to go bad either way. Might as well take your best shot.
Right.
So very small percentage of people that make it Division I, even smaller that go pro in any sport. What was that process for you for going from college to the NFL? Was it expected? Was it unexpected? And how did you navigate that?
Yeah, it was kind of like, because I had a good college career, but I was at Wisconsin, and it wasn't like I was throwing for a ton of yards, and it was a good draft class. There was a bunch of quarterbacks: Carson Palmer, Byron Leftwich, Rex Grossman. It was that group, and we had a big class. And I remember even our strength coach coming up like, "Hey, you gonna train for the combine, or are you gonna just hang it up?" It's kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna train and give it a shot and see what happens. And kind of just assumed I'd be a coach, but I felt like I had a shot as much as a lot of guys did, and I had a really good, I didn't go to the top kind of all-star games and stuff, but I had a really good all-star game. I threw it well at the pro day, got invited to the combine, had a good combine. So my stock was kind of rising, and then it was like, hey, probably 5th round on the high end, or free agent. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really know what to expect. And that's a whirlwind too, because you get a phone call, and it was fun. A couple of my buddies came down from home, and my parents were in town. We had a fun weekend, and I'm just sitting in my apartment. We're all kind of the second day of the weekend, just laying around waiting. It's like, hey, New York Jets, and then you're on a press conference, and then like a week later you're going out to rookie minicamp, and you hit the ground, and it's like, here's the playbook, here's your stuff, like we got practice, tomorrow morning, and like all of a sudden you're just like,
it just goes fast.
It goes fast. Like all of a sudden you felt like you were just trying to figure it out, and all of a sudden you're in a Jets uniform. Like,
what was that feeling like though, getting that call and officially going pro?
Yeah, it was surreal and super cool, but I think at that point it was just like, I was so quick into like, all right, I got to figure this out. Like it's gonna get real in a hurry.
Right.
So it just felt like the next step, and I think kind of to dovetail that into, I think one of the things that we get underdeveloped as athletes when you go into the real world is just like the next step is always kind of, there's an itinerary. It's like, okay, now you go here, and then you go here, and then you go here. So it was the logical next step. And I go to a game now and I watch these guys out there and getting hit and whatever, and I'm like, golly, there's no chance I would do that. But it's kind of like the frog in the pot of water, right? And you've just done it for so long that it's just kind of like it's the next thing. You're just in that rhythm. So I just remember being like, all right, like here it is, and then all of a sudden you're flying in it, and bought a car. I had an $80,000 signing bonus.
What'd you buy?
It was like
What car did you buy?
40. I remember my agent being like, what are you? I got an Infinity sedan, like a sedan. Like, used, like my after taxes, I don't know, it was $45,000 or something like that. And, I'm just like, all right, I'm negotiating with the guy at the car dealership and stuff. Like, how many miles on this thing? And like, he's like, you're going to drive it in a Jets parking lot, and they're going to think you work in accounting on the second floor. I said, they're going to think that anyway. So it doesn't matter if I have an Escalade. But yeah, me and my dad, I loaded up kind of everything I own out of Madison. Me and my dad drove out I-80, across the GW Bridge, through Hempstead to Hofstra University. And then there you were, trying to dropped off and lived in the dorms, and then it was unbelievable because I'm a football junkie, and Paul Hackett was the offensive coordinator. He had been with Bill Walsh, in the 80s with the Niners, through the Montana and Steve Young era, and he was just a savant at the West Coast offense. So it was me, Vinny Testaverde, and Chad Pennington. Right, Vinny's like 40 at the time, or 39 years old, and I just got to sit and learn football from those guys every day, and it was so cool. And then one of the welcome to the NFL moments. So the first NFL game I ever attended was in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh wow!
And I had a uniform on.
Wow.
So we played. Tampa Bay Bucks. They had won the Super Bowl the year before, and we're going to play them in Tokyo in one of these preseason,
Is that like Brad Johnson?
Yeah.
Time? Okay.
Yeah, the Bull was there. Gruden, John Lynch, Warren Sapp, not Tiki Barber, the other Barber. Anyway, Rondé Barber. I mean, they're loaded.
I was Rondé Barber's, fun fact, at the 3M Open. They did like a
Compass Challenge.
Yeah, the Compass Challenge. So they played 3 holes, and it was all for charity, right? And so one of the things they're like, oh, we need some caddies. So like, So they're like, Max and Bridget want to do it. I'm like, sure, no big deal. Mind you, at this time, I still don't play a ton of golf, but I'm Rondé Barber's caddy. Came with these 3 holes, and he's like, I need this club. I go, Rondé, I'm actually not really good at knowing what clubs to give you.
I don't know what a 3 hybrid is.
Yes.
Like, does it have? I hope it has a 3 on it. I'm like, I'll be your moral support, but I'll hold your bag, but you might have to grab your own club. So anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So we fly over to Tokyo, and the whole time I'm like, a couple things, I'm getting kind of nervous and anxious, and Chad Pennington was going to play one series, and then Vinny wasn't going to play, so I was literally playing the rest of the game. And it's the kickoff to the NFL season, so it's.
Is this like a preseason?
Preseason.
Okay.
It's true preseason.
Okay.
Nationally televised. Kind of the kickoff. So I'm like, all right. And then the other one thing was like, that was when the earphones were new in the helmet, right? And I'm like, guys, we need to have some signals or something. I mean, we're in damn Tokyo. Like, things could go wrong. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it on the plane. Like, we'll figure it out. Well, we never figured it out.
Oh, no.
Of course, the second series of the game, it's like, no headphones. So I'm running over and trying to get the plays. And then the other thing is, we ran the same defense they did. Their Tampa 2 defense, historically, we had Herm Edwards, or Tampa 2 defense. So I'm kind of like looking through my playbook on the 14-hour flight. I'm like, hey, what if they do something different? What if they start blitzing or do this? Like, what do I do in these plays?
And who are you asking this?
Paul Hack, our coordinator. And he's like, don't worry about it. First preseason game. Like, they're going to play Tampa 2 and cover 3, just like you're seeing every day. It's be easy. Of course, there was like some beef between Monty Kiffin, that was their D coordinator, and one of our staff. So he's bringing stuff that has never been seen since. Double corner blitz, double safety blitz. I mean, I'm getting hit in the side of the head. People are coming from everywhere. I survived it, but yeah, it was like, okay, welcome to the NFL. And it was a fun experience. I am a lifelong celebrity in Tokyo.
Because how many NFL games have they played in Tokyo?
I don't know. That's a good question, but so it's a total sidebar, but because of that international game, they put a Japanese player on each one of the teams. And when I say Japanese, I mean like don't speak English. Yoshi was on our team as wide receiver. I found out later they had a middle linebacker, because all of a sudden it was like, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, and there's just like 5'9" guy playing middle linebacker, and I'm like, I think I found the guy that was their guy from Japan. But Yoshi, so Herm Edwards told me before the game, he goes, I don't care how you play, I don't care what happens. He said, you got to get Yoshi a completion.
Oh my God.
That's all that matters for you. And Yoshi had like hurt his ankle. He could barely run. And I mean, he probably could maybe crack the lineup at like Augsburg or something, right? Like, he was not an NFL caliber thing. Like, he'd make the travel roster. So Yoshi comes jogging out. We call a sluggo seam, so it's a slant and go. And I'm looking at calling the cadence. I'm looking at the corner he's just licking his chops. He's like, I'm going to pick this thing off. Like, I'm so glad I'm guarding this guy right now. So, of course, he breaks to the slant. The guy just bites, right? Yoshi beats him. He's butt naked. So I let it go, and I'm just like, oh, please tell me. And he's limping, like, hop along here. Going, I'm like, did I ever throw him? He reaches out, he catches it, he almost scores. The place goes bananas, right? We're in Tokyo, right? So this guy is now a national hero. So after the game,
broken ankle.
Yeah. So after the game, it was like I was on the Beatles, like me and him. Like, it was like hundreds of reporters, pictures, interviews, the whole deal.
Oh my God.
Yoshi made it big, so it was fun.
You still stay in touch?
Yeah, no, I should make a tour. It's probably time for like a reunion tour. Yeah.
Brooks is coming back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey listeners, we want to take a quick moment to tell you about the InSports Foundation. At InSports, we believe every child deserves the chance to play sports regardless of their financial situation. Our mission is to provide free camps, scholarships, and team sponsorships to reduce the cost of sports and help more kids get in the game. As we all know, through sports, kids can learn valuable life lessons, stay active, and maintain their mental well-being. To support our mission and help us give more kids the opportunity to play, visit insportsfoundation.org and consider making a donation today. Together, we can make a difference.
Looks like you played 5 seasons in the NFL, multiple different teams. What's like the biggest takeaway from that experience that you still kind of still sits with you?
Oh, I think like anything, the community of people, the network of people. I'll add one. I got 6 years, and then I played 2 in the league called the UFL, which has now come back.
Okay. Yep.
Which didn't really count for anything, other than delayed me growing up a little bit. And we had a blast, right? Like Jay Gruden was my coach in Orlando. Sean McVay was our tight ends coach. He was 23 years old.
Okay.
His first coaching job. And we had a bunch of studs on that staff, and then a mix of like kind of guys at the end and guys at the beginning.
And I see, were you like MVP once?
Yeah, I was MVP the first year. It was a ton of fun. And I thought I'd get one more year, one more contract. It just never, it didn't work out. But, you know, through those years, 3 in New York, 2 here, 1 in Dallas, the experiences that you get to have and just those relationships, because the NFL is like a fraternity, right? There's a kind of a finite amount of people that put that uniform on and are a part of it. So the coaches, players, teammates, those guys that you get to know, everybody's jumping teams, but you develop a different level of relationship. So I think that's by far. And then there's too many to list of just cool things that you get to see and be a part of along the way, and the caliber of people that you get to know. But I think just like every level of football, it's like, man, there's a different level of bond when you go through that stuff with somebody.
So looking back, if you could go back to one decade of your life, would it be elementary football or 7th grade football? Would it be high school? Would it be college? Or would
being
it be
in the locker room with your dad's college team growing up?
Or going pro?
And we're just talking football.
Yeah. We'll get to baseball.
Because my wife might watch this. But if you're talking about life, then I have to answer differently.
Football, yes.
Yeah. Because clearly right now is the peak. This is the pinnacle. Oh, man. I mean, I think a couple, like what we talked about earlier, of like why we play and the things you can learn. I think the other thing is there's this thing like wired into us of like, especially in team sports, is like ultimate goal is being a part of something bigger than yourself. And I call them monster rallies, but being a part of those runs or those moments in time where the planets align and you go on a run and you win something and you do something unexpected, you do something big. And those first 2 years at Wisconsin, it was like the whole state was on fire, right? Like it was just like things just kind of all went into place, and Ron's winning the Heisman, and we're winning all these games, and you're winning the Rose Bowl. And you know, I redshirted the first one, but it was back-to-back Rose Bowls that we won. And you know, that I just think that monster rally, that time when things just seem to all fall into place, you realize as you go on in life, like not everybody gets those moments. But I could track back, and I tell my buddies this, you know, that won a state championship with in high school and in basketball, or made a run. Like, it's not any better because there's more people involved or because it's televised. Like those runs, I can go back to my first one was in 8th grade. I played on the 9th grade team at Valley Junior High, and we were 9-0 and won the Under the Lights game. Like that was a magic. It was such a fun group. So I think I would, if push came to shove, it would be the college one. But I think I could have some fun going back to any of them.
Yeah. When you talk about obviously the competitiveness, football or that sport being your identity, and you're trying to make it, right? Like how, when you're head to head with another team member, how was that relationship, right? Like was there strain? Did you feel some tension? Like how did that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a very interesting dynamic, I think, especially with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because it is such a difficult, complex position, and there is so much riding on it. I mean, in reality, once you have a starter, and when that's defined, it's kind of everybody in that room's job to make sure that starter's ready to play. And then that's going to be true of the room regardless of who that person becomes.
Right.
And it becomes this weird dynamic of competition, but support and brotherhood. And I don't. There was probably only a couple times. You're wanting that guy to do well, but you're kind of like. And the way you got to get to it is just like, it's like when you're a kid, you'll see it in golf when you're going back and forth, watching my kid play competitive golf and whatever. And it's like, you just want yourself to play at the highest level, right? And you want to get to a place where you're pulling for the other people when they're in there, because the alternative kind of sucks. It doesn't play over the long term when you're kind of hoping his failure is going to lead to my success. And so it's a fun dynamic. I've coached in that room, obviously played in a bunch of those rooms. There's only a couple of times where it got a little uglier, I would say. For the most part, the quarterbacks are good and they get it, and they know how to support each other kind of through that competition.
Kind of reminds me of like a goalie dynamic in hockey. Like you're rooting for your guy, but you want to get in there and. Yeah, it feels the quarterback position kind of.
We're not as weird as goalies.
No. We've only got a couple minutes left. They're going to kick us off the stage here, but want to talk a little bit about your time after professional football. You got into coaching. Now you're at Bell Bank in the financial world. What things did you take from your whole football career, baseball, basketball, that you now use in your everyday life?
Yeah, I think that the short answer is all of it, right? And I guys go through it all the time, and my buddies, I went through it, my buddies went through it. I've worked with a lot of people that have gone through it. That transition is real. It is. I got great parents, great family, pretty normal, I guess, just like all the support in the world, and it's hard. It almost seems, it feels embarrassing to say that when you're going through it, because it's like, well, you're used to being kind of at the pinnacle, and now your internal expectation is that you just jump from there to the next pinnacle, and you realize pretty quick that you're going back to the bottom of the mountain. And I think the guys that really would help me, and it took me, a while, because it's humbling, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a little office with a suit on trying to figure out how to work Outlook, and you're just like, man, I'm behind. And you're taking coffee meetings and you're going to every kind of network and trying to learn and understand. And people are going, well, don't you know what you want to be? Like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I got to figure that out. I'm 33 or 34, but really I'm a 22-year-old,
right?
Just because I haven't got my hands dirty. So I always tell kids that you got to get your hands dirty, and when it's gonna click is when you realize what made that last pinnacle great was the journey and the struggle, and being obsessed with your personal growth and your development, and being hungry for that, not just how fast can I get back up here and look smart and be able to tell people I got to figure it out. I always laugh. My sister, I was like playing for the Jets and doing whatever, and she was kind of figuring out what she was going to do. And
is she younger or older than you?
Yeah, I'm the oldest of four.
Okay.
But she'd always get pissed when people say, "So what are you doing now?" It's kind of like, don't worry about it. Like, why are you asking all these questions? And I'm like, what's the problem? Easy for me, right? It's like, I'll fly back to New York next week, and should have a good team this year. And for the first time in my life, I'm in that spot, and I'm like, it kind of bothered me. Like, people would ask, I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, why are you asking all these questions? And then it was frustrating because I didn't know the answer. And then I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be what I love. I don't know if it's going to be fulfilling. I don't want to look dumb. There's all these things that I think that you got to kind of go through. But I'm grateful for having to go through that at the time of my life that I did. Just because it helped me grow, helped me learn, helped me be a better dad, and I think be better with the kids and stuff like that. So. Did
you go into business right away then?
Oh, no, I mean, so let's see. I got done in the UFL in 2011, and then Bill Lechner called me at Hill Murray, and he was like, "Hey, I saw you retired," and Charlie Walters called him. "We need a coach. You want to be the head coach at Hill Murray?" I was like, "Sure." I think I made $6,000 that year. And I was just like, it's what I knew. So my first coaching job was the head coach at Hill Murray. We had a magical year, one of the favorite. We had a little rally, went to state for the first time in like 30 years and went to the state semis, and just an amazing group of kids. So much fun. And like I didn't have a day job. Like that was my whole job, and the kids are still young. So I'm like playing badminton at gym class, and I'm hanging out around the school and get to know the kids, and it was a blast. And then they hired me in development at Hill after that season, and then like 2 weeks after I got hired, Paul Chris got the job at the University of Pittsburgh, and he asked me to be the quarterback coach. So kept their house here, moved the family to Pittsburgh. I went down the path of being a college football coach, and I was doing well. I was kind of going like that, and I started to have this internal struggle because my oldest, Miles, was 8 at the time, and I never saw him. Bo and Livy too, all of them. And we played Miami in the last game of the regular season on Saturday. Sunday morning I had a flight. I had 12 flights in 14 days, the day the season ended, to go recruit. And I had been thinking about it, and I'm like, I've seen this movie. I had a gift of being around this game and being around coaches, and I know what the mountaintop looks like, and it's just not worth it. And we're back here, and I called the principal, Kate Wallen at Nativity, and I said, hey, Kate, you got room in whatever they were, kindergarten and second grade? She said, yep. I said, all right, they're starting on Monday. So I went back to Pittsburgh and told Paul I was done. And my wife was like, what are you doing? Like, what now? What are you doing? Like, I'm like, we'll figure it out. How hard can it be, the real world?
I'll be a financial expert.
Well, and then it was the last thing I wanted to be honest with you. But I thought I was going to do all this cool stuff, I had a buddy with a startup and a buddy with a nonprofit, and I'm like, I never really saw the value from the other side of the table, and I saw all the struggles that guys were going through in the locker room, and then, I was in the Cowboy locker room in 2008 when the market's crashing and guys are panicking, and then the transition out, and I said, I'd like to learn and maybe help some guys through that transition, so that was going to be sexy and cool and do all this stuff. And then I learned pretty quick with the fourth kid on the way and trying to get your Series 7 and your 66, put my head down pretty quick and just started grinding. And then kind of fell in love with helping people through that, and then business owners, et cetera, et cetera. And then, not 10 years later, 11, I finally feel like I'm kind of a grown-up. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So that's like I said, that confidence, I think he's just having to go through some of those things that helped.
Well, I do want to acknowledge Bell Bank, where you're at. We wouldn't be sitting here today without the help of Bell Bank. We were college students up at Concordia. We had a class project to start, this foundation, and the people at Bell had heard about it and gave their pay it forward money to us to start, to launch our first hockey camp, and that led to other camps. And without that momentum, I don't think we'd be sitting here today. So just what Bell Bank does, for athletics, that's really important. But just giving back to the community is amazing. So how does that feel? To be a part of an organization that puts that much emphasis on giving back.
Yeah, well, it's so authentic to who they are. Obviously, the Solberg and the Snortland family, and it's kind of woven in the fabric, and it's why I'm at Bell. I got to know. I didn't know them growing up because Grand Forks didn't have Bell really, or State Bank and Trust of Fargo at the time. But I got to know these guys over like a 12-month period, and I just kind of fell in love with the place, because of the way they live and show up in the community and the way they treat their employees and the customers. So it's good to be at a place that you can just, and I think it's whether you're in football or anything, it's like, hey, I can go in the world and be who I am, and that's my job, right? Like it's aligned with who Bell is, so it makes it a lot more fun and a lot easier when you get to just go be who you are.
Well, we got time for, we're over time, but I'll give one last question. Since you've, been in this parenting world of youth sports, you got five kids, if you were to give any advice to a parent who's getting into that youth sports world, this might maybe for us, what advice would you give to parents out there?
Whew. Well, I think there is no magic wand. There is no right sport or right path. I mean, we live in such an amazing time. You look at the opportunities that these kids have and how good they are. But every sport you look at, it's unbelievable opportunities that I never would have dreamed of having as a kid, which is awesome. You know, I think at the same time, because all those things exist, doesn't mean you have to do them or they're best for your kid. Mm-hmm. And I think, and again, this is taken trial and error on our part, but to be able to try and build a process, you know, with your spouse and even with your kid as they get older of like, hey, let's get really clear about what is important to us relative to sports and what we want to get out of it on the front end. And then I think when those moments come and those decision points come, you have more of a foundation to come from. And I think most people, when you're not uber intentional about it, which I don't think we were on the front end, you just think, oh, we're both athletes and we figured it out and we listen to these other people, you know, whatever. It's like you kind of slip into just the tail wagging the dog, right? And all of a sudden you're like, what are we doing on this team again? You know? So yeah, I'd say that and budget well, because it's easy not to look, which is my preference.
Yes.
Don't look.
Oh, awesome. Well, Brooks, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming out here on Valentine's Day, and you got like 4 or 5 games that your kids are having today, so we appreciate you taking the time. And
hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for all you guys do. It's awesome to see you guys living this out, and any way I can help, I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Thanks, Brooks.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Athletes in Sports podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from inspiring athletes, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels.